This happened to me on Highway 20 in rural Georgia. I'd driven that road 100 times without thinking about it. I'm a substitute teacher. My brain is trained to stay calm when things get loud. You manage the situation and keep moving. That night in October 2022, I learned how fast that kind of calm can disappear. I'd had one of those long, exhausting days. Kids talking over each other, repeating directions, asking questions they already knew the answer to. By the time I was released, my head was still stuck in teacher mode, replaying what I'd do differently the next day. I remember thinking about rewriting a worksheet when I got home. That's what was in my head when it happened. A loud crack exploded through the car. The windshield didn't collapse. It spidered. White fractures burst across the passenger side, spreading so fast my eyes couldn't track them. The car jolted, and for a second the road looked like it had been drawn in broken lines. I was alone. My phone was at 12%. The heater was barely doing its job. My first instinct was to brake and pull over. My second instinct, stronger, said don't. The object didn't come from above like a kicked-up rock. It came from the side, from the shoulder. I flipped on my hazards and slowed instead, trying to stay in control without committing to a stop. The fractured windshield vibrated and flashed under my headlights. I leaned forward to see through the clearest patch. Right then, I saw movement at the tree line. A shape where there shouldn't be one. A body-sized outline that didn't move like an animal. I kept rolling. Then two shapes broke from the woods and ran, running straight toward the road. My mouth went dry immediately. And then I saw a third shape closer to the pavement, already positioned like it didn't need to rush. I remember whispering, no, 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 like saying it might interrupt whatever was happening. My brain tried to argue with itself. Maybe they need help. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe, but the way they moved shut that down. It felt planned. That's when it hit me. Stopping was the trap. If I pulled over fully, I'd be a cracked windshield car on a narrow shoulder with trees tight on one side and darkness on the other. No room to maneuver, no witnesses, no clean escape. I scanned ahead, searching for headlights or a driveway. Instead, I noticed something behind me. Farther back along the shoulder, barely visible, was another vehicle. No lights, parked too neatly to be broken down. I wouldn't have noticed it if the windshield hadn't been fractured into 100 reflective lines. My body locked up in that way that comes with realization. The runners were almost at the road now. The third shape moved toward my passenger side. I hit the horn. The sound echoed into the trees. They didn't react. That told me everything. I pressed the gas. Not flooring it, I still needed to see, but enough to commit forward. The road warped through the cracked glass, and I locked my eyes on the lane line like it was the only thing holding reality together. As I passed, the closest figure lunged toward the passenger door. I saw a pale flash of an arm. A hand yanked the door handle. The car shook from it, and I felt that awful sense of being touched through the machine around me, like the boundary had been crossed anyway. Another figure slapped the hood hard, trying to force a panic stop, trying to make me do something sudden. I screamed, but I stayed on the gas. The windshield vibrated under the pressure. Every bump made the cracks chatter. I kept thinking, if it gives out, I can't stop anyway. In the mirror, I saw them stop running. I think it's because they expected me to stop. I didn't slow until I hit the familiar gas station exit. I took it too fast, tires chirping, heart still racing. The station lights hit me like a stage. Cars, a man walking out with a soda, a truck idling. I pulled into the brightest spot and locked my doors again, even though they were already locked. My hands were shaking so badly I fumbled dialing 911. When the dispatcher answered, I tried to sound calm. I gave the location, described the cracked windshield, the figures running from the woods. She asked gently, "Did you see their faces?" I realized I hadn't. I saw movement. I saw arms. I saw intent, but no faces. Then I realized how anonymous it all felt, like it could happen again to anyone. A deputy showed up later. He looked at my windshield, took notes, drove the stretch. They didn't find anyone, nor the vehicle. Nothing to blame. I went home anyway, because I didn't know what else to do. But the sound of that windshield shattering still echoes clearly in my head. My name's Mark. I'm 34. I work as a warehouse supervisor, and this happened to me on Route 17 in upstate New York. I'm not the type who stops for strangers or jumps to worst-case scenarios. I've driven those roads my whole life, late nights included, and nothing about that stretch ever felt dangerous to me before. That night changed the way I handle roadside help. Late November 2021, cutting through the rural part of New York. Route 17 can go long stretches without traffic, so when someone shows up behind you, you clock it, then forget it. But this one didn't pass me, and it didn't back off. It just stayed put in the mirror. Then the brights flashed once, just a quick burst, like a tap on the shoulder. I checked my dash, no warning lights. The truck sounded fine, but it was a company pickup, older, temperamental. I thought it was probably something small and looked for a safe spot. There's a wide gravel shoulder I know on that stretch, enough room to pull off without being half in the lane. I signaled, rolled in, hazards on. I hadn't even unbuckled when the car behind me pulled in too. Most people flash brights to warn you and keep going. They don't follow you into a pull-off like they're part of the plan. The driver got out fast. He walked straight toward my truck. Trees lined both sides of the road, tall and black, swallowing sound. No traffic, no nearby lights. He stopped at my driver window and pointed toward the back of my truck. "Your back tire looks weird," he said. Normal voice. Calm, like a guy doing me a favor. Then, roll the window down. "I can't hear you." I cracked it maybe an inch. "What do you mean weird?" I asked. He leaned closer instead of answering. "Roll it down more," he said. "I'm trying to help you." "I can hear you fine," I said. "Just tell me what you saw." He didn't. His eyes moved instead. Door handle, dash, passenger seat, everything but the tire. "Step back from the window," I said, clear and firm. He smiled like he'd expected that. "Relax," he said, lifting one hand. The other stayed low, out of sight. "I'm not here to mess with you. Your tire looked like it was wobbling." "I'll check it myself," I said. "Step back." Normal people step back when you tell them to. Even if they think you're being paranoid, they give space because there's no reason not to. He didn't move. "Man," he said, "I'm just trying to keep you safe. Why are you acting like that?" That's when the situation changed. He wasn't worried about my truck anymore. He was worried about me noticing him. I've seen that tactic before. Push a boundary, then make the other person feel unreasonable for reacting. Suddenly, you're defending yourself instead of watching them. "Step back," I said again. He laughed a little, but his feet stayed planted. Okay, he said, but didn't move. His hands never showed at the same time. One would rise while the other dropped. His body turned toward my door, not toward the rear tire. I looked past him at the road. It was empty. Then at his car. The headlights were still on and aimed right at us. I couldn't see inside. "You should check it now," he said. "Driving on a bad tire is dangerous. Dangerous. Safe. Help." He kept saying those words like they were leverage. "I'm going to the next exit," I said. "There's light there." His eyes moved straight to the window gap. "No," he said. "You should check it now." He leaned in again, closer than before. "Just roll it down," he said. "I can't hear you." He'd heard me every time. Then he reached toward the gap like he was testing whether I'd let him widen it. I locked eyes with him. "Back. Up. Now." He paused, then smiled wider, like this moment was the point. He didn't step back. That's when I stopped treating it like a conversation. I put the truck in gear and pulled out smoothly. No tire spin and no panic. I didn't want chase energy. As I passed him, he took a half step forward, like he might grab the handle. Then he stopped. In my mirror, he didn't run back to his car. He walked, slow and calm, like he had options. I drove until I hit a gas station with real light and other people. I checked every tire like I was inspecting a plane. Nothing was wrong. No bulge, no wobble, no leak. I stood there for a long time, staring back toward the road. A few days later, someone posted in a local Route 17 group. A warning. A guy flagging drivers down, saying their tire looked wrong, asking them to roll the window down. Reading that locked everything into place. It wasn't random. My name's Lauren. I was 22 at the time, a college student driving back to campus on Highway 101 in Northern California. It was January 2023, late, foggy, and I remember thinking how quiet everything felt, like the road had been erased except for the headlights in front of me. When the truck behind me started flashing its brights, I honestly thought it was doing me a favor. Maybe I was drifting. Maybe something was wrong with my lights. I'd rather feel embarrassed than cause an accident. That was my mindset that night. Be responsible, get back to campus, don't do anything reckless. I kept thinking he was warning me. I was driving back from my aunt's place after a quiet weekend, and it wasn't that late, but late enough that Highway 101 felt emptied out. Podcast on low, voices talking about nothing important, just something to stay alert. Hands steady on the wheel, speed under the limit. I remember thinking, if I keep it boring, I'll be fine. When the truck appeared behind me, it actually felt reassuring at first. Another car meant I wasn't alone in the fog. Another set of headlights navigating the same mess. Then the brights flashed again, not a quick flick, over and over, like tapping a pen on a desk. I checked my mirrors. The lights were smeared by the fog, making distance hard to judge. It was a big truck. Tall, wide, the kind that fills your rear view even when it's not close. I changed lanes to let him pass. The flashing didn't stop. That's when it started to bother me. If you want to pass someone, you pass. You don't stay behind them and keep flashing like you're testing something. I moved back into the right lane. The flashing continued. I ran through a mental checklist, trying to stay calm. Headlights on, phone charging, gas fine, dashboard clear. I looked at my speed, wondering if I was going too slow and irritating him. But I wasn't crawling. I was driving the way you're supposed to in fog. The next time he flashed, I tapped my brakes lightly, just enough to show him I'd noticed. The flashing stopped. Not completely, just paused, like he'd gotten what he wanted. I felt my shoulders relax, and I hated that. It bothered me how fast my body settled, just because one thing went quiet. A minute later, the flashing started again. That's when I noticed something that made everything feel wrong in a very quiet way. The flashing changed based on my speed. When I held steady, it was occasional. When I slowed, it stopped. When I sped up, it came back. Like he was correcting me. I didn't want to believe that. Nobody wants to think they're being controlled on an empty highway. So my brain offered easier explanations. Maybe there's debris ahead. Maybe there's a stalled car. Maybe he thinks my lights are off. Maybe he's trying to help and doesn't realize how aggressive it feels. But another thought kept pressing in, colder and harder to ignore. He wants me to slow down. I didn't want that thought. I pushed it away and slowed anyway, telling myself I was just being cautious. The fog thickened. Highway 101 fog isn't always a blanket, it comes in pockets. You'll see trees and signs for a second, then drive straight into a wall where the road feels smaller than it should. I hit one of those walls. Suddenly, it was just the faint lane lines and the glow of my dashboard reflecting back at me. I couldn't tell how far the truck was behind me anymore, just that it was still there. The brights flashed again. I turned the podcast down until it was barely audible, like silence would help me focus. My speed had dropped again, without me meaning to. The flashing stopped. And then I saw them, 3 silhouettes, standing on the shoulder. They didn't emerge the way people usually do. There was no movement leading up to them, no walking shapes, no gradual appearance. They were just there, positioned right where the fog was thickest, at the edge of visibility, like they'd chosen the exact spot where headlights would hit them late. They weren't walking. They were waiting. My first reaction wasn't fear. It was confusion. My brain tried to explain it away. Stranded people, maybe. A breakdown. Someone needing help. Then one of them lifted an arm, pointing straight toward my lane. At the same time, the truck behind me held its distance. It stayed exactly where it was, like it was overseeing the moment. My car drifted toward the shoulder line because my eyes did. I corrected fast, maybe too fast, and felt the car wobble slightly, just enough to remind me how little margin I had. One of the figures stepped forward, close enough that my headlights caught details, dark clothing and bulky shapes, but nothing clear enough to identify. I hit the horn. The figure didn't move back. If anything, it leaned into the noise, like it was waiting for the reaction. I didn't think anymore. I accelerated. The fog thickened immediately. For a few seconds, I was driving blind, guided only by lane paint and instinct. My hands hurt from gripping the wheel. My eyes strained so hard they watered. Behind me, the truck's headlights surged brighter through the fog. Then the brights flashed again. I refused to look back. I kept my eyes on the road and pushed through until the fog thinned near a busier stretch, where distant headlights and signs started to appear. The truck stopped flashing. It fell back, just like that. At the first lit exit, I pulled off and parked under a streetlight near a closed restaurant. I sat there with my hands still on the wheel, trying to slow my breathing. I tried to call a friend, then stopped, because the story sounded ridiculous even to me. A truck flashed its lights, and people stood in the fog. It didn't sound like danger. It sounded like overthinking. That's the part that keeps you quiet. I called anyway and just said I needed company. I didn't explain it all. I didn't have the words yet. When I got back to campus, I didn't sleep. I kept seeing those silhouettes. Now, whenever I drive in fog, I don't think about monsters or stories. I think about headlights and how easy it is to turn traffic logic into a weapon. I was working HVAC jobs across Nevada, driving US 50 more times than I could count. This was August 2015. Middle of the desert, hot enough that the air still felt heavy even after the sun dropped. I've helped people on the side of the road before, jumped batteries, passed out water. It's never been a big deal. So when I saw the van with its hazards blinking, I didn't feel brave or heroic. I felt responsible. Nothing about what happened after felt dramatic. It just felt wrong, like I'd stepped into something that was already in motion and didn't realize it until I was standing too close. It was the kind of desert dusk where the sun is gone, but the heat refuses to leave. Then I saw the van, hazards blinking on the shoulder, like a slow heartbeat. I eased off the gas and stared for a few seconds. You don't see many vehicles stopped out there, and when you do, it usually means something's wrong. Here's the part I still feel stupid about. I stopped because I thought about my wife. That was it, not hero instincts or curiosity. Just a mental image of her on the side of a desert highway and someone deciding not to help. I pulled my work truck in behind the van, leaving space. Habit. I park like that on job sites too, always ready to leave fast if needed. I'm an HVAC tech. I'm not law enforcement, not a tow truck, but I carry tools, water, a flashlight, and I've helped stranded people before. Dead batteries, overheating engines, normal stuff. This didn't feel normal. The van was old, off-white, no markings, hood closed, no one standing outside, no phone light glowing through the windows, just dark glass and blinking hazards. I got out with my flashlight. The hazards made everything pulse. My shadow, the shoulder, the brush beyond. I didn't walk right up to the driver window. I stopped a few steps back and called out, "Hey, y'all okay?" Then the driver window rolled down, maybe an inch, just enough for a voice to come through. "We're fine, just waiting on a friend." Male voice, not rushed, not irritated, flat. I looked at the van again. If you're fine, why are the hazards on? If you're waiting on a friend, why are you pulled over like you're broken down? If you're waiting, why is it so dark inside I can't see anyone? "Need water?" I asked. "I've got some." "No," he said immediately. Too fast. The window stayed cracked exactly where it was. I nodded like I accepted it. I shined my flashlight along the side of the van, pretending to check tires. The tint swallowed the beam. Mostly I saw my own reflection. Car trouble? I asked. Battery? Overheating? No, he said. We're good. The hazards kept blinking. I took a step back and heard a soft sound. Movement. Like weight moving on a bench seat. It came from deeper inside the van, not the driver's seat. It didn't sound mechanical. It sounded human. I lifted my flashlight slowly, trying to catch movement through the tint. Nothing clear, but I realized I was wrong about what kind of situation this was. How many people you got in there? I asked. The answer came instantly. Just me. It didn't match the sound. I stepped back again, still nodding, still polite. All right, I said. Just wanted to check. As I moved, the hazards blinked, and for a brief moment the tint wasn't fully black. I saw a shape lift, quick, like a knee rising and dropping. Not the driver, further back. Then it was gone. My thoughts simplified. Don't get closer. Don't turn your back. Don't make it confrontational. I kept backing toward my truck. That's when another detail clicked. My truck was now between the van and the highway. From the road, anyone passing would mostly see my vehicle. Big, obvious, blocking the view, like I was shielding them. I got into my truck slowly. I didn't start it right away. Instead, I picked up my phone and held it to my ear. I didn't dial. I just started talking. Yeah, I said, loud. I'm on US 50 near mile marker. Van on the shoulder. Send highway patrol. The van's hazards shut off instantly. That darkness bothered me more than the lights ever did. I couldn't see the driver window anymore. Then I heard a quiet sound, rubber flexing. The van's side door cracked open a couple inches. Then it shut again. I turned the key and started my truck. I pulled out smoothly, like I was leaving because I'd remembered something, not because I was scared. I didn't look at the van as I passed it. I drove 10 miles before my breathing changed. 15 before I checked my mirrors, expecting headlights. When I hit service, I called it in for real, non-emergency. Gave them what I had. Approximate location, van description, hazards cutting out. They asked about plates. I didn't have them. Number of people? I didn't know. Threats? No. Later that night, I checked my dash cam. The video showed exactly what you'd expect. Van, hazards blinking, my truck's headlights lighting dust and brush. Nothing suspicious enough to convince anyone. But the audio caught it. Right after I asked how many people were inside, that soft interior movement, like someone adjusting because they'd been waiting too long. I don't know what it was. Maybe a setup, maybe nothing, maybe something worse. All I know is this. If it was nothing, the hazards wouldn't have shut off the second I said highway patrol. And if it was something, stopping to help almost put me in the wrong place. That's the part that stays with me. Not the van. The fact that my best instinct was the one that almost got me trapped. My name's Jenna. I'm 29, and I work as a real estate assistant outside Lubbock. If you've ever done late showings in West Texas, you know the kind. The ones that stretch past sunset, where you're smiling and nodding long after your brain's clocked out. This happened in February of 2023, on a county road I'd taken plenty of times before, usually in daylight, usually without thinking twice. That night, I was heading home from a showing that ran long. I was tired, annoyed at myself, and more focused on my bed than the road. And then I saw a woman standing dead center in my lane, crying. I didn't slam the brakes because I'm kind. I slammed them because my brain couldn't accept what it was seeing. The road was empty. No houses, no streetlights, no other cars. Just my headlights and her shape filling the lane. When my car stopped, the silence was immediate and heavy. Even my turn signal sounded too loud. She didn't move. That was the first thing that didn't make sense. If you're actually scared or hurt or trying to flag someone down, you step toward the light. You wave. You make yourself visible. She did none of that. She stood there, crying, staring at my hood like she was waiting for it to decide something. I rolled my window down just enough to speak. "Hey," I said, "are you okay?" She lifted her face like she'd been waiting for that exact question. "I need help," she said. "My phone's dead. Please." Her voice sounded right, shaky, breathless, and convincing. "Okay," I said, already reaching for mine. "I can call someone for you." "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. "Can you open the door?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. "I can call 911, I said instead, "or someone you know." "I just need to get warm," she said. "Just for a second." It wasn't that cold. Cold, yes, but not dangerous, and she was wearing a jacket. I looked past her, down both sides of the road. No car, no hazard lights, nothing. "Where's your car?" I asked. She looked toward the ditch, hesitated, then said, "Back there." I got turned around. There was nowhere to get turned around. My hands stayed tight on the wheel. "Okay," I said, "stay there. I'm calling for help." "No," she said quickly. "Please don't. I don't want the cops." That sentence changed everything. Normal people don't negotiate help on a dark road. She stepped closer, but not into the full light. Toward my driver's side door, where the glare worked in her favor. "Just open it," she said again. Less crying now, more irritation. I lifted my phone so she could see it. "I'm calling right now." And that's when the second person appeared. From the ditch line, just beyond where my headlights reached, someone rose up. A man, hood up, hands low. My brain did the math instantly. They're together. She stopped me. He waited. If I stay, I'm choosing their rules. I rolled my window up. Her crying stopped immediately. "What are you doing?" she snapped. I hit the lock button and threw the car into reverse. She slapped her palm against my window. Behind her, the man stepped forward. I didn't wait. I shifted into drive and accelerated past them. She stepped aside at the last second, not afraid of my car at all. In my mirror, neither of them chased. When I called 911, I sounded ridiculous even to myself, like I was telling a story I wasn't sure I believed. They sent a deputy, told me not to go back, said they'd check the area. The next day, they called and said they found nothing. No people, no vehicle. I wanted relief. What I felt instead was embarrassment, like it was my fault. That's how these situations mess with you. They don't just scare you. They make you question yourself afterward. And the scariest part is that she's probably still out there, waiting for the next set of headlights to slow down and decide to be kind. If you realized the real danger wasn't the stranger, but the moment you trusted the wrong situation, go ahead, smash that like button, hit subscribe so you never miss the next nightmare, and let me know which story got under your skin. And if you think the scariest part of an Airbnb is bad Wi-Fi, click now to watch 4 really disturbing Airbnb stories, because sometimes the host knows you're home. Thanks for watching. Stay alert, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next nightmare.